let me give you a proper introduction. Born in New York, raised by your grandmother. You joined the armed forces. You were the 132-pound Marine Corps champion. You started up coach Stokes Boxing Academy, I believe. Was it 2018?
No, I started in 2014.
14, forgive me.
Yes, sir.
They were the figures I had. You boxed under Gunny Sergeant Robert Michaels. He's supposed to be a good guy, I'm told, by Ronald Sims. And part of you trained in the infamous snake pit where Leon Spinks lost his front teeth. You have teammates, some fantastic teammates like Johnny Edwards.
Correct.
Okay, and I had a look at an interview that you done with a guy called John Scully, and he called he called you one of the best technical fighters he'd seen. You were also inducted into the Hall of Fame. Was it April 2016?
Correct.
So all I can say, Steve Stokes, is that's a hell of a resume you got there.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you.
So that snake pit photograph you got over your back there.
Yes.
Okay.
This is. I'll get up and close with it.
Yeah.
Can you see it? That is the original snake pit sign. The original snake pit sign, and the story behind that is when the snake pit got torn down. During that time, people were taking all types of monuments from it. You know, like slabs of the ring. They just dismantled it. So there was a boxer that was a teammate of mine at that time, Joey Van Daniker, out of Washington, D.C. Everybody was just running around with stuff, you know, taking posters, whatever. And I said, what you doing? And he was covering it. He said, man, look what I got. I said, what? He said, I got the snake pit sign. I said, oh man. I was like, man, you came up, man. I said, good deal. And I was the team captain during that time. He looked at me. He said, here you go, Stokes. I said, what? I said, nah, man, take it. I said, you got it first. He said, no, take it. I want you to have it because you got the most seniority. So I took it, and I've had it ever since. And it's something that my kids know about. I taught them the history of the Marine Corps, but the snake pit, like you said, and
legendary. You know, it's the way you attain that poster is part of that story. Is a huge chunk of that story. I mean, a man giving another man something that they both want. You know, like in terms of its historic value, and he's giving it away to you out of respect because of seniority.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
We live in different times, Steve. We live in different times.
We definitely do. And it was something that till this day, Joey Van Daniker, you know, he got out of the Marine Corps. He turned pro for a little bit. And now as we speak, he's an attorney. He's a lawyer, and he's doing well. And those are the type of stories that I love seeing, you know, because you hear a lot of times, of course, when it comes to boxing, they make it or they don't make it, or, you know, they become broke or whatever. But I love hearing the positive stories, you know, like Ronald Sims, like yourself, you know, and Joey Van Daniker.
Well, speaking of education, you got a couple of degrees yourself, right?
Yes, sir.
You do?
Yes, Coach. Yes, Joe. Yes, Joe.
Yes, yeah.
I have 3 degrees. I have an Associate's of Science in Criminal Justice. Then I have a Bachelor's of Science in Juvenile Justice. And I have a Master's degree in Criminal Justice with a minor in social issues within criminal justice.
So is part of your work in the community, Steve? Because I'm wondering what a guy like you with that education is doing with the boxing club full time. If you're working full time in a boxing club, are you?
Yeah, I am. I am. It's my boxing. It's my own boxing club.
Your own boxing club.
I've tried doing a 9 to 5. I worked in corporate America. You know, I worked for colleges. I've done those type of things, and it just wasn't me. It just wasn't me. It always came back to boxing. And at the end of the day, this is where I'm happy at. I definitely can make a lot more money in the corporate world, but I love what I'm doing when it comes to helping young men, young women, people change their lives because I can go anywhere with juvenile justice. You know, I don't have to just be working in a detention center or in a juvenile prison. I could be working with kids, you know, showing them boxing, showing them how to protect themselves. I love that because I was someone who was picked on growing up. You know, I was a person who was bullied, and I always loved telling this story because when I used to get bullied, you know, it was all about I wasn't the strongest kid, but I was the fastest kid. They could never catch me, coach. They never could catch me. But when I started going to the boxing gym and when I started learning to protect myself, it became I always use the analogy, the rabbit got the gun. Now the rabbit got the gun. And then it was like, you know, I didn't have to worry about any of that. And most importantly, you know, I just love teaching people how to protect themselves, and if anybody's getting bullied, how to deal with, you know, bullying, because that's something that we definitely got to worry about today in today's society.
Yeah, I mean, there is gun crime in Ireland, okay, but generally it's just gangster on gangster.
Yes.
Very rarely it spills over into mushrooms, ordinary Joes and Josephine soaps. Very rarely, but you know, we don't have the same gun laws that you do. So we don't have availability. We can't walk into a store and buy a gun. So I can't even imagine what it's like on the streets. Are you still, you were born in New York. Are you a native of New York? You still living there?
I do not. I live in California now.
You're in Cali. Okay.
Yes, I live in California. I stayed in California after I retired out of the Marine Corps. I met my wife. You know, we ended up having, you know, our beautiful family. I stayed out here. I said, you know, the hell with New York because the cold weather was just killing me. So why not stay out here in the beaches?
Well, you've got how many kids? 4 kids? 5 kids? Was it?
I got total 4. I got 3 boys and one daughter.
Wow, I bet she's tough.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Who? My daughter?
Yeah.
Oh, she, you know what? She really is. She's actually the strongest out of everyone, out of all my boys. And she's the only southpaw, believe that or not. She's the only southpaw. She's left-handed.
When I looked at your stuff, there was a comment that you made that really stuck with me. And you said that, you know, there are people who train boxing, but there are those who get in the ring, which is a whole different thing. It's a whole different animal.
Yes.
So could you expand on that? What do you mean by that?
For example, anybody, you know, today in today's society, you know, we see a lot of pad work, but people, like when I first started boxing, coach, I was on the line. We used to call it, I used to go on the line from basketball from one end to another. And I would just do jab, step. And I did that for 6 months, me and anybody else who came. 6 months. Today, it would be hard to keep a lot of these kids doing that for 6 months because they want to learn the Floyd Mayweather routine within a week.
Right.
You know, so we had to fight for ourselves, or we had to earn our stripes. Right. Anybody can look good on the pads. Anybody can look good on the bag. But then you find out what you really have once you get in there and once you spar, you know, once you do that technical aspect or once you do that competitive sparring. So that's all I meant by that, because you see a lot of people that look good when they warming up, but then when they get in a real fight, it's like, what happened to this guy?
Yeah.
He was selling me a big wolf ticket.
Yeah. Because when you said that, just reminded me of a guy. If you ever seen him skip, he could skip backwards, forwards, you name it, sideways, the whole ball of wax. He was so talented. You put him on pads, put him on speedball, and you didn't want to get in the ring because you thought what was coming was a hurricane. You were dead when you get in there, right? But,
right.
You know, like when you got to know the guy, you knew that the place for the advertisements was on the soles of his boots, if you know what I mean. Every time you get in there, you knew we used to call him canvas back because that's where he used to end up. He fell apart. He just couldn't transition one from the other. So what age did you start boxing at, first of all?
I started boxing at 14 and a half. 14
and a half. Now, for most people, like when you think that kids today would be boxing from, you know, like 6, 7, 8 years of age, they come in and they play around in boxing clubs. I mean, you're playing catch up when you're 14 when you come into a boxing club. And were you still living in New York at the time?
I was living with my grandmother at the time. Yes.
Okay. And so you're living with your grandmother, and I'm sure to dedicate as a 14-year-old, you know, when you walk into a gym, how much you have to catch up when you see the other kids have a totally different level of fitness to you because they're training twice a day from teenagers on. And so you come in at 14, you've already missed a couple of years. You're playing catch up straight off the bat. So all I'm saying is you must have been good.
You know what it was? I was playing basketball full time, and I was going to basketball camps. I was doing everything. But then it got to the point, Coach, where I realized I'm not going to get any taller than 6 foot. And the NBA or college basketball may not be in my future. So I tell you, it was a story. His name was Charles Cruz. Everybody knew him. His name was Charles Killer Cruz. His nickname was Killer. And he was known all in my city. And I used to follow him. So he and I was in the same homeroom in junior high school. So I was like, hey, man, how you doing? He's like, oh, man, this past weekend I went to Canada. We fought in Toronto. You know, we fought in New York. And then one day he was like, you know what, you should come to the gym. I was like, nah, I'm not going to come. I'm playing basketball because I really couldn't see myself boxing. But then there was a friend of ours, mutual friend, that went to the gym. And I was like, yeah, he going to go. He going to come right back. And he kept going. He kept going. And he kept going. And I was like, man, well, if he can do it, I know I can do it. And I went, and I tell you, it was something that I'm gonna tell you, it was very intimidating because, you know, you see kids putting on gloves, putting on Vaseline on their face, the headgear. And I was like, what the heck is this? I've never seen nothing like that. And the coach asked me, he said, you want to spar? I said, what's sparring? He said, get in there and box somebody else. And I had my buddies there, and they was all looking at me like, what you gonna do? I said, I got to. And we got in there, we sparred, and I did good. And I just kept going, Coach. And before you know it, man, boxing really opened up my world. I mean, if it wasn't for boxing, I would not be talking to you right now. If it was not for boxing, I would have never joined the Marine Corps. If it wasn't for boxing, I wouldn't be in California. So boxing has really saved my life. And has shaped me as a man, because any and everybody that I've learned from has been within the sport of boxing.
So let me link this up for a second. So you joined the boxing club, and from the boxing club, you were obviously introduced to somebody who introduced you to the Marine Corps. Is that correct? Or?
Correct.
Yeah, correct. And so from them, then you joined the Marine Corps and you boxed for the Marine Corps, where you went on to become an inductee of the Hall of Fame.
Yes, sir.
The Marine Corps Hall of Fame. And, you know, when you see the other people who were inducted into that, that's a hell of a compliment, I have to say, Steve.
It really is. I mean, to be besides the name of Carmen, Basilio, who fought the great Sugar Ray Robinson, you know, Leon Spinks, who fought the great Muhammad Ali, Ken Norton, who fought Muhammad Ali, and others who paved that way before me. I thought I would never ever, say that, you know, I'm a Hall of Famer. But this is something that, you know, when I went and did it, I think the best part was having my family there, my wife and my kids, you know, my son smiling like, wow. That was the biggest thing. That's the coolest thing to me, you know, just having my son look at me and like, wow, Daddy, you did this. He boxes too, you know, and he loves boxing, you know, and I feel like, yeah.
What age is your son?
My youngest is 9 years old, and then my middle is 10. So they both fight. Yeah, they both have won national tournaments over here, and doing well. And I'm just being dad and just taking my time, man, just having fun with them. That's all I'm doing.
It's a whole new chapter, right?
You know what, Coach? It is totally different from boxing. Boxing, you don't have to do anything. Boxing was the easy thing, but being a coach, good Lord. Whew. I'm telling you, hey, his first fight, I remember I had his water bottle, and I was nervous. So I kept sipping. It was time to get him water. He's like, Dad, can I have some water? And I drank up all this water. I'm like, God, go give me some more water. Yeah.
Yeah, Daddy needed that. He was dehydrated. You don't. You're fit. Go out there, kid. Just do your thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, tough guys don't need water. Go on. Just get back out there. That's amazing. So, you joined the Marine Corps, you boxed, and now just your amateur boxing record. How did you do as an amateur boxer?
I did very well. I did very well.
I mean, before you joined the Marine Corps.
Oh, before I joined the Marine Corps,
yeah.
I won the New York State Golden Gloves. I won the Empire State Games,
Wow.
which is really big. You know, my first my first international duel was to Ireland. That was with a New York team. We went over there. I went to Omagh, Armagh, Dublin, and Belfast. You know,
Wow.
I love Ireland. I love it. I love Ireland. Hopefully, I'll be coming over here to see you real soon.
You're more than welcome. I'm not just
Yes,
saying
sir.
that well, here, you have it recorded. You're good. You know,
Hey,
you got evidence.
I'm going to hold you to that.
No, 100%. I'd love to see you here. I'll tell you what, we've earned a reputation as being friendly, and it's the truth. We are friendly. I mean, I always say to my wife walking down the street, there could be 5 people consecutively in a row. Now, this is in my own community. I could walk around and say, hello, how you doing, James? How you doing? How you doing? And it's like, she says, why are you so upset? Why do you do it? I said, well, because I like connecting in my community. I put myself out there so I know who people are, and you know, like, it's not that I want to get into your business, it's just a sense of community. We all live together. Let's get on together, you know. People forget it's your nest. So make it a good place.
You know what? I was there in '91, and when I went, I remember we were walking around, and there was a female. We stayed in an inn, and I asked her. I said, "Can I ask you a question?" She said, "Sure." I said, "Is there racism over here?" She said, "Racism?" I said, "Yeah, we're like black people, and you know, in the United States." And she says, "No." She said, I said, okay. She said, if anything, you know, they have the religions that are going at each other, the Protestants and the Catholics. I mean, during
that's
the time.
right.
Yeah. So then she was telling me about that, but we walked through the mall. I mean, people were good. I mean, I loved Ireland. I loved the weather. The green was grass. I mean, the grass was green. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Everything was beautiful.
Right.
And this was during the wintertime when we came. This was like January, February.
Wow, that's cold. That's cold. But the point I was trying to make, like, people, complete strangers will say hello walking down the street, Steve. Now, not in the city center. City centers are hustle and bustle. That's just typical. But I mean, just in general, even you could strike up a conversation with somebody at a bus stop, a complete stranger, and you could have a belly laugh. You know, it's just the nature, or maybe it's a dying generation. I don't know, but we're still good for that. So you then joined the Marine Corps. You've obviously met somebody who's introduced you to the Marine Corps, and then you went and you did boxing, right? You started to box for the Marine Corps. You won the title. It was at 132 pounds, was it?
147.
Sorry, 140 welterweight, was it? You boxed on the welterweight. Yeah.
Yes.
Forgive me. And so from there, what happened? Did you get propelled onto the U.S. boxing team?
Yes, I fought 147 pounds, and then that year in the U.S. Championships, I ended up becoming number 3 in the nation. So then I started going on U.S. duels, and one of my biggest duels was the Muhammad Ali Cup.
Oh wow!
That they had, yeah. That's when I met Muhammad Ali, peace be upon him, the great one. I was there with him for 7 days. Yeah, it was amazing in Louisville, Kentucky. We went to his high school. We went everywhere.
Oh, that's his home.
It's his home. Yes. So it was the first international duel. We had people from Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, China, all over the world that was there, and it was great. It was great competition. And then that opened up my doorway of getting to the international on an international scene. My biggest fight that I've had was 1998. Was in the World Championships in Budapest, Hungary. You know, so I got to go see. You know, I saw everybody that was there. Everybody, the Cubans. During that time, Felix Savon.
Wow.
He was still on the team. You know, I got a pair of autographed gloves from him still. Yeah, Ariel Hernandez,
Wow,
he was
wow.
on that team. A lot of great fighters during that time.
He TKO'd Ronald Sims with a body shot, liver shot.
Yeah, he put down a lot of people with body shots. Hey, I'm not. So
Ronald has a picture on his. I had to go down, scroll down through all his social media files, and I found one after Ariel had just landed a body blow, and Ronald had been counted out, and he stood up. The facial expression, you didn't have to say anything. That was it. It explained everything. Man, the
yeah.
Cubans, that liver shot synonymous in Cuba. The up and under. Whoop.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So you've been. What possessed you then? You were in the military for 2 tours of Iraq.
Correct.
Okay. And then when you left the military, did you then go to school, go back to school and study?
I did. I went back. It's a funny story. I was in my first marriage. I was getting out of my first marriage for my first wife, and that's I have a older son who's 24 years old, Stephen Jr. So I was going through life, and I was going to the gym, and my wife now, my last wife, no more wives after this. We're done. That's what she told me, and that's what I'm telling myself. I know it for a fact, but I met her, and when I seen her, she was different. She was different from everybody else. And I gave her my telephone number. So make a long story short, I asked her one day, I said, hey, what are you doing? She said, I'm going to register for school. I said, okay. And she said, something you need to be doing. So I started laughing. I was like, what? I said, okay, whatever. So I was like, I'm gonna meet you down there. I met her down there. I enrolled the exact same day. I started school the exact same day. And before you know it, I got my associates, I got my bachelor's, and I ended up getting a master's degree. Something that I said I would never do. I said I would never go back to school. I'm done with school. School was just something that I just, what I'm saying, that bored me during that time. But I actually wanted to go back because I wanted to prove people wrong. I wanted to prove people, let them know, like, you know what, I can do this. This is something that I can do. And I graduated honor roll in all 3 degrees. It's something that I had to internally prove myself, and I proved to everybody else. But not only that, though, I'm showing my sons that, and my daughter, like, you have to have education. You have it, and you will have it. And there's no other term to that. You will have a great education, your mind, everything, your body, your spirit, everything's going to be fine because everything comes together.
The degrees that you have tell me a lot about the man, right? I think there's a story behind the degree. I don't know the degrees. Why justice? Why juvenile justice? Why?
Originally, I was gonna become a police officer. But then what happened was from doing, being in the Marine Corps all those years, it really broke my body down. I've had numerous surgeries afterwards. I've had shoulder surgery, I've had hernia surgery, I've had a full right knee replacement, my lower back. So if I would have went through, it would have been difficult, and I probably would have been hobbled by a lot of injuries. So I decided, you know what, this is something that I'm gonna go a different direction on. And consulting with my team, who is my better half, my wife, she was like, why don't you go back into boxing and use boxing as a form of juvenile justice? And I was like, you know what, you're right. She's like, because you're gonna be working with kids, you're gonna be helping them stay fit, to protect themselves, but then you're also gonna be a mentor. We can start a mentoringship program. And that's what I've been doing, and I love it because you know what, Coach? I know you can go ahead and say the same when it comes to this, but when you have a young man that comes up and say, hey, Coach Clifford, man, you showed me how to throw a jab, or somebody's like, man, where you learn from? Oh, Coach Clifford. Or how you learn how to wrap your hands? Coach Clifford showed me this. Or he comes back later on, Coach Clifford, thank you for saving my life, man. You showed me some things that I will always have for the rest of my life. That's what I love. And that right there in itself, you can't put no dollar amount on that.
No, never. It's too valuable. It's priceless.
Yes.
And I get it straight away. I remember a kid when I was coaching in Crumlin Boxing Club under two-time Olympian guy, Phil Sutcliffe.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember a kid specifically asking for me in his corner. I want Joe, I just want Joe, I want Joe. And, you know, you get up there, and although he's only, you know, he's a rookie, he's only starting the box, but it means so much because it means that kid has puts his trust and faith in you.
Right.
I remember being exposed. Like the furthest we ever went when I was a kid was across to the UK, to our nearest neighbor. Like only rich people went to Europe. But I live in Europe, but we're an island, so only rich people went to Europe. And so we used to go to the local places within the UK or within Ireland, holiday, vacation, and then similarly across. And the same went for boxing. But nowadays, kids travel all over the globe. Kids are traveling everywhere. And it's probably one of the greatest educations I've ever had, Steve, is being exposed to cultures. And you mentioned Uzbekistani box, I think. At Alayev, was it that you boxed? Or
Yes.
Yeah, okay. They have such a strong tradition of boxing.
They do.
By the way, Uzbekistan was probably the weirdest country I've ever visited in my life. I have to say that, Steve. I mean in a bad way, just different.
What's so weird about it?
I don't usually get VIP treatment off a plane, Steve. Usually I'm in economy. I'm only a little person, so I fit just cozy. For me, my legs, no problem. I can stretch out in a chair. I'm only 5'7".
Okay.
But we landed in the plane and they're calling my name out over the intercom. And they take me then into a room. These two big men, right? They would have torn me apart with their hands. So I'm looking at these two blocks and I'm thinking, where am I going? They haven't even spoke to me. They just called my name, carried me literally shoulder to shoulder me into this room. Sat there, took my passport. Now I go, oh, no, shit, no, I'm in trouble now. They got my passport. They can't run. I can't get out of here, you know? So, and then they brought me to another room and sat me there where there were 5 people sitting on a couch and none of them said anything to me. And I'm thinking, I'm losing it here. And then I said, look, I'm here for the boxing. That's all I'm here for. You must have had the wrong guy. Somebody must have given you the wrong information. And he said, no, sit down. So I'm sat there, but it was that experience. And then he brought me to this place that looked like a police building, and it was the hotel. But my feet didn't touch the ground. I never seen anything outside of that hotel. The whole boxing thing was inside of that hotel. That's all I seen. And I could only walk as far as the fence in the hotel without somebody walking behind me and calling me back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you were treated like a dignitary pretty much.
Either that or an asshole that you couldn't trust. Borderline.
Watch this Irish guy. Watch.
Put the cutlery away. Put the good cutlery away. You don't want him in the house. So, snake pit. Let's bring it back to the snake pit. Tell me about that. That sounded like a tough gym.
Oh my God. I explained. Snake pit was very small. Man, it probably was like 24 by 24 maybe. It was very, very small. One room. Well, actually 2 rooms. One big room. One small big room, and then you had a small room in the back of that where we would change. But you talking about getting hot? It would get so hot there that you would slip on the floor. The floor we would say the floor would sweat. The walls would sweat. You would be slipping all over the place. But it was the best. It was. You and I both know it's the best gym to be in.
Yeah.
The smell, everything. You know, I loved it. I love it. And the ring was so small. They had a small floor ring that was, man, it was so small. It had to be like 16 by 16 maybe. It was tiny.
So
you had to fight. You had to, and I loved it because when you got into a big ring, you didn't move around as much. You used what you had. You didn't have, you know what I'm saying? You didn't move around the ring and be moving unnecessarily. It was beautiful. I loved it. So Snake Pit was something, and all the history that came from there. I mean, man, I never even knew Leon Spinks got his teeth knocked out there until you brought it up to me.
You didn't?
I did not.
No, Snake Pit. That's one of the most famous anecdotal stories about the Snake Pit, Leon's teeth. So maybe you with that sign that you have behind your back, maybe you need to go back and see if you can find Leon's teeth and put it there with the sign. They belong together. I'm telling you.
Hey, you know what? Yeah, they do. I don't know if I'm gonna keep them, or if I find them, if I would sell them in an auction.
You brought up a really interesting topic when we were talking the last time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You brought up a really interesting topic, and you called it the enemy within. And the reason that I really liked it was because I was actually writing something right there and then when you sent that over to me. And I said, wow, that's a piece of meat you can really sink your teeth into, because it's one. There can be multiple factors that add to somebody's success, and there can be just one thing that brings a man or woman's to failure, bring them to complete failure. Just one thing, mentally, a shift, something, whatever it was, something in the background, a distraction. And I just thought, right, what a great topic to bring up and talk about, So I'd like to do that with you tonight, Steve.
Cool. No problem.
Yeah. By the way, my wife loves your promos. See, she hit me around the back of the head tonight. That's what you need to do. See what he just did there? And she just loved your subscribers and non-subscribers. You see? See?
Tell her I said thank you.
Yeah, she's a big fan already. So I was speaking to you about 3 particular fights because we were talking about the enemy within.
That's right.
Right, okay. Fighters folding. And the first one I'll throw at you is Jacobs versus Chavez.
Yes.
Okay. And you had some valid points on that one, because the nature of that fight, what we're speaking about are fighters who should have performed better. You would have had a greater expectation of these people, and then they either lost professionally. It wasn't that they were beaten, it was that they gave up rather than they were right. So let's talk about Jacobs and Chavez.
Jacobs and Chavez.
What stuck out in your mind, Steve?
Chavez Jr. I first and foremost, I think he had a lot. He's always had a lot of pressure on him because they expect him to perform like his dad.
Yeah,
his dad is a different animal.
For sure.
You know. So you can't do that. I think when you was on my show, I like the fact, and I started doing this. But you said when we train here over in Ireland, we don't say anything about winning. We don't put any type of expectations upon them, so they can expect like we have to win, because if we don't win, we're gonna lose. I don't do that. Not with my sons. I say, and I let them know, I'm like, we get life lessons. There's no winning or losing in amateur boxing. It's all about performing. It's all about learning and getting to the next level. So when you told me that, something as simple as if my sons throw a jab and they're not throwing that jab the correct, proper way, the way that I'm telling them to do it, if they do something that's a tad bit right, good job, huh?
Yeah, sure.
Good job. You did great. Now do it better next time. And when I do that, I've learned that it's gotten better for them, but me as a coach and a dad has gotten better. It's gotten a whole lot better, because I'm saying to myself, like, at least they don't have to be here, coach. They don't even have to have these gloves on, but they're doing it because they want to spend this time with me.
Ah, beautiful. Beautiful. But in terms of, do you think, bringing you back to
Jacobs and
right.
Yeah.
I feel like that's totally relative, because you have your son's that box, right? Your son that box, right? And you're encouraging him. But similarly, you're a Marine Corps Hall of Famer, inductee. Yep. He has to live in your shadows, in your shoes. So, I mean, you're not putting any pressures on him to box, but somewhere in his psyche, he's looking at you and he's thinking, that's where I want to be. Maybe, I don't know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you asked me, what is it that I do differently, or?
Yeah, because would you, if you were making that comparison between Chavez,
yes,
okay, hit the father and son relationship, and your relationship with your son, how could you say there's differences, definite differences there, or what
Well,
you perceive to be?
first and foremost, I would tell him, you're not me.
Mm.
You are a part of me, but you're gonna be. I always tell my sons, whatever you do, I say you're gonna do better than me because, just to let you know this, I was a product of a single parent household, so I didn't have my father in my house, in my household. So
Grandmother.
what I'm doing now, Joe, this
Mhm.
is something that I can't believe no man wouldn't want to do, be in his kid's life. This is amazing. Fatherhood is such a huge thing. So what I would tell them is, do you, be you. You have to live your life the best way that you can. Going out and keep saying like Chavez Jr. is not performing like his dad, I think that's totally wrong. I think that he may have some aggressions towards his dad. Who knows? I know if I was boxing and all I'm hearing, or if I was a basketball player and I was Michael Jordan's son, it's like your dad. I'd be like, what the hell with him? I don't want to hear about him. I want to hear about me, what I can do.
Yeah.
So I think that took him out a lot because ultimately he wasn't out of the fight with Jacobs. He was coming back, but all of a sudden he just up and quit.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done that on a couple occasions. He's quit before.
Yeah. So
he's done it before.
do you think it was something that he committed himself to, maybe to appease his father or to get his father's adulation? And then somewhere in there, it was just like a bottomless pit. And once he was in that rabbit hole, he just kept on going down and then got to a point where he was in the lights, the bright lights.
Yeah.
And then he wanted it out. It's not the place for me. It's not where I want to be. I don't need this or some kind of, recognition from my father.
I think he wanted the glamour and glitz, and he got it. And then once he got it, it was like, whoa, you know what? I don't like this anymore. Right. Or this is a little too much.
Yeah, sure.
And he sank down that rabbit hole, like you said. I think that you and I both know boxing is a rough sport, and it's a lonely sport.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he just seeing by what he's done with Freddie Roach in the past, by ballooning up and other trainers and eating not the right things. He wasn't living the life. I always go by a saying, what makes a champion? The foods you eat, the times you sleep, and the friends you keep. Mm-hmm. Those three things, if they're not on point, you're gonna lose. And he definitely wasn't doing any of that. So I feel like that, he committed suicide early. When it came to that.
Right, sure. And people had mentioned that there were drugs in the background. There were also, rumors that he'd broken his nose or something like that. And then his weight, like you said, just reiterating what you said. But I would, how could you ever stand in the shoes of Chavez Sr.? How could you ever do that? And I always, he'd been granted some golden keys to fights he should have never, let's just say, got. Okay, because he has a very powerful godfather.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so he had a habit of also failing drug tests and then refusing to give urines or walking out of the stadium when he was asked by doping, the officials that were doing doping. He just refused to. So, it's that whole scenario was kind of weird, around Chavez because he had his father in the background. I'm sure he was a driving force through his career, but then he was also, let's just say, he was steered very much in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And those times where it looked like the scales had tipped the other way, they flipped it over for him so he could keep going forward, kind of thing,
Right, because the way he had performed in past fights and how he did throw in the white towel, I'm saying to myself, like, he's fighting who? Danny Jacobs? Like, I couldn't understand, like, there's more qualified fighters that should be fighting Danny Jacobs than him.
Yeah, for sure. Jacobs is a very talented guy.
Yeah, he is.
Very talented. Okay. Another one that was just that reminds me of Roberto Duran versus none other than Sugar Ray Leonard, when Roberto in the second fight quit. And so I'll bring you to the second fight I mentioned to you, Lewis versus Mccall. Okay. Isn't it so weird to see a fight where a fighter quits, but he's crying when he's in there?
Yeah.
At that level, I mean. At that level.
Yeah, it really was, because I was looking at Lewis's body expression, and he was looking like, it would have thrown me off too. Like, is this guy real? I would have thought like he's trying to bait me in.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, me too.
You know, like, okay, he's got it. He can't be crying. He must be trying something new. But then after a while, you can see Lewis was getting really puzzled after a while. Then after time, he was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and finish this guy off. But I think Oliver Mccall had a lot of issues outside. Definitely when it came to substance abuse. Going up and down, as a roller coaster. You already know, if your mind is not right,
sure,
anything can throw. Me being a coach, I'm learning this every day, coach. You have certain fighters, some you may have to build up a lot, and others you may not have to. It's just a science. For example, if Oliver McCall is one of those guys that you have to build up all the time, or, you got to watch who comes around him, because, he will change in a drop of a dime. Those guys like that they're hard to deal with. They're hard to deal with. And those type of people, I particularly wouldn't even like to train, because I know how I am. I'm a coach where either you're going to do it or you're not going to do it.
Yeah, well, you stop wasting your time that way, right? You're not wasting your time then. Because how many times have you seen such a talented kid walk into the gym? That one that you'll probably experience in your whole lifetime, that special one. Mm-hmm. And you know that kid's got something. And you put your time and energy into the kid, but it's not reciprocal. Now, as a coach, you're giving it away. You're not looking for anything in return. You're giving it away.
Yes.
But it's heartbreaking to see that kid then turn to drugs or crime or whatever,
Yeah. It's I always tell fighters, if I have to want it more than you, then you shouldn't be doing the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that. And this is a sport where you can't. It's not like basketball. It's not like football. It's not like soccer. You cannot call timeout. No, it's like once you in there, you are in there. You don't get no timeouts. You and I both know. I see coaches all the time saying like, oh, this kid is he may win a couple of nationals, or he may win a couple of fights. It's like, yeah, we're going to the top. And it's like, your scenario can change at any time. He can decide, he can wake up tomorrow and be like, I don't want to do this no more.
Mm-hmm.
Or he may, kids, their minds, they change all the time. Oh, you know what? I saw a documentary on Babe Ruth. Now I want to play baseball. Huh? What? All this time effort that we put into this? Or they might decide, you know what? I don't like you, Coach Stokes, no more, so I'm going with Coach Clifford. I'm moving to Ireland. What can I do? So you really got to play it, day by day. I believe in not putting all your eggs into one basket.
Sure.
I believe in having fun, and I believe in, not putting a lot of pressure. It was confirmation, after that podcast that we had on the Gatekeepers, when you said it, I was like, I was leaning on doing that anyways, but that was just confirmation, from God saying like, hey, sit back, relax, and let it happen. Mm-hmm. Let it happen.
Enjoy it.
Enjoy it. Yes, sir.
Have fun. But what you're doing is you're like, people forget that boxing gyms are always in working class and underclass areas. Always. Always. Unlike MMA, which floats between middle classes and the working classes, but middle classes, people can go to a BJJ class. But MMA, I have found that there's like the social, those who get involved in it are from all sorts of social and economic backgrounds, but not boxing. Not boxing, never boxing, as long as I've ever lived. But what you're doing is opening the doors in areas and providing a facility for an important asset to the community.
Yes.
And giving those kids a sense of purpose and direction, etc. So Tell me a little bit about your gym before we move on to the next fighter.
Okay, well, my gym is in my home garage, and everything I have in my home garage, I have at a boxing gym. I have treadmills, I have ellipticals, I have assault bikes. I mean, I have a I have a uh, excuse me, I have a bag stand that I've had made specifically for my sons. You know, where I have bags on here. Everything that we have here is at a gym. The only thing we go out for is just to spar, and that's it. But we keep everything in house. Everything in house. And my sons love it this way. I mean, last time they trained in a real gym was what? Earlier this year when we was on the East Coast in Philadelphia, New Jersey. Because I did a special project out there for 6 weeks. I took over a boxing program. But yeah, I mean, we do everything in house. I mean, you know, everything. I'm the coach. My wife is the strength and conditioning coach because my wife has her degrees in strength and conditioning.
Wow.
That's what she does. So we keep everything in house. We do everything here.
The family-run business.
We do. My kids are homeschooled. So we don't, you know, when the schools were shut, we didn't have to worry about that because my kids didn't miss a beat. So everything we do, we do within our household. So average day was, I give you an average day. Average day is we wake up. I waking them up normally about like 6:30, 7 o'clock. They get up, brush their teeth. Then they run. Whether we go outside, run out in the park, or we run on the treadmill, or they may not run. If I want to give their legs a rest, I have them jump rope for like 10 to 12 minutes, just warming up. Then they start school. They may take a break like at 12 o'clock. If they take a break, then, you know, it's for an hour. We do a little tech training. A little tech training is just going over just certain skills, just certain punches on the pads or with each other, like jab block counter, you know, or jab slip counter, just doing things over and over and over again to the embedded. A good friend of mine, Coach Mustafa out of Atlanta, you know, he always says his acronym. He says, drillers make killers. Drillers make killers. The more you drill, the more you become a killer with that certain punch. And I believe in that. And then later on that evening, then we do it depends on if we do more tech training or, you know, bag work and stuff like that. But it's split out throughout the day. So that's why, you know, I'm doing.
But you know, the gym itself, I mean, how many members have you got there at the moment, Steve?
Right now I'm only working with like 4 other people outside of my sons because what's going on with this pandemic.
Sure.
You know, that's it, you know, only, and these are people that I've been working with for the last like 2-3 years, you know. But as far as the team, I don't have a team now yet, Coach, because I've been really investing my time and effort into my sons.
Sure. And that's a big enough project. That's the best project.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah, because, you know, I see a lot of kids that come into boxing and automatically the parents buy them the best boxing equipment, the Nikes and from head to toe. And then they quit after 6 months. If they last that long.
Right.
Like I recently I was in a gym and a kid had left a Nike jacket on a ring post, never came back to collect it, brand new.
Oh no.
And there was 2 things that struck me about the whole thing. The kid's sense of value, number 1. And if I was the parent and my mama and I came home without a brand new jacket, are you kidding me? I would be sleeping rough until I found that jacket.
Yes, we would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you'd have got your ass whooping on top of that. So,
right.
But anyway, I mean, it's one thing you see now is a lot of entitlement within boxing. You see it within kids. It's probably, or if not entitlement, then a lot of kids look at the outcomes rather than the process.
What we do with our sons,
mm-hmm.
we go out in the community and we help feed the homeless. We were doing this before, or like 1 year they wanted to pass out gloves, just gloves because it was cold outside. And by them going up and seeing this personally, it's like, man, Daddy, they're homeless. Yeah, they're homeless, but you know, we're not going to turn our backs on them just because they're homeless. You know, I want you guys to understand, like, you got to start from somewhere. I want you to appreciate Everybody. Don't look down upon somebody because you might have a rough time one day and you might need help. It's okay if everybody needs help sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So what we do with them is we do a lot of work where we let them know, you know, you're not going to be entitled because you have a lot of these kids that are entitled. I hate the fact when these kids is like, oh, I don't want to fight this person because I don't want to lose my O. I don't care about that. Zeros are overrated. I tell them point blank. It's not who you fight. It's what you do in the game. It's how many people, quality. It's quality, not over quantity.
Mm-hmm.
I know for one, people are really comparing themselves to Lomachenko. I hear a lot of people saying like, I want to get over 300 fights, 400 fights.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No, what, Coach, you and I, you know, I'm about to say, you get 400 fights and then you turn, and then God forbid, you know, you turn to be pro. You got a lot of trauma that happened to your body over those fights.
You be telling yourself jokes in your 30s.
Yes.
Hopefully
yes.
the good ones.
Right.
You know what? And when you say that, I just read an article most recently about a kid that turned professional at 10 years of age, right?
What?
10 years of age. Now it's in Asia. It's Muay Thai, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people think that I hate Muay Thai. I don't. I respect the sport very, very much. And it's a whole different dynamic. It's a whole different culture. It's a whole different, it's a developing country in lots of ways. There's a lot of poor people in poverty. And I can understand that kid is carrying his family when he fights professionally. But they've done MRI and CAT scans on those kids, and they found that those kids actually had the onset of traumatic brain injury, and that their IQs were 10 points less than average kids their own age. Yeah. So you're 100% right. Like when you hear kids saying 300, 400 fights, again, look at the pattern here. Lomachenko's father. Lomachenko's father was a huge part of why Lomachenko is so successful.
Yes, big time. He, I look at the things that he says he did with Basilio. You know, like Basilio always talks about how he stopped boxing for quite some time because his dad was like, I'm gonna put you in dancing to work on your movement. You know, those type of things. I was always told this is a marathon, not a race, and I see too many coaches out there doing it like it's a race. You know, let your fighters relax. Let them come back. Let them absorb things. Let them understand these things because I see out here in California they fight and they when it was open they were fighting like every weekend. You can get a fight every weekend if you decide to. That's not going to be me though. Not with me and my sons. I'm going to enjoy the process. I'm going to let them go through the process.
Yeah, and the older you get, the more you come to understand, regardless if it's amateur or it's professional, that trauma takes its toll when you get older. Because I know one or two people that are suffering from traumatic brain injury who I would have grown up with and boxed with and stuff like that, you know. And it's sad. As well as that, you know, bare knuckle fighting over here legally was big within the traveling, or is big within the traveling community. So, but anyway, you know, I'm sure they'll get good direction. I know they will get good direction because when I speak to you, I don't hear selfishness in your attitude towards how you coach.
No,
it's not the Steve show.
No, I learned that from my predecessors, like you know, Coach.
Who's your biggest peer? Who are your peers?
Coach Gloria Peak, who's the first female to ever coach in men's Olympic boxing for USA Boxing. Coach Robert Michael, who took over for Coach Roosevelt Sanders, who probably has the best coaching resume out of Olympics. He coached the '84 Olympic team with Pernell Whitaker, Mildred Taylor. Ben Holyfield, all those guys. He was my coach for the first 3 years in the Marine Corps. When I was at the Snake Pit, and I learned a lot from that man, a lot. Coach J.C. Davis, who's known to be in the boxing realm, you know, out of North Carolina, who's worked with Vander Holyfield, a lot of those guys. He's under Don Turner. So those are some of my biggest people that I learned from, you know, because I like to paint pictures. I was always told keep it simple when it comes in boxing, and I see a lot of coaches out there that use so many big words where they data dump on fighters, and fighters can't understand that. Just keep it simple. If you tell like one analogy I always use is if you're punching the bag, imagine you take a stove and you put the irons on the bag. Okay, if you're punching a hot stove and you keep your hand up there long enough, what's going to happen? It's going to burn your hand. So when you make impact, as soon as you make impact, you're pulling right back, all the way out, all the way back. That's the type of analogy that I like to give, you know, when it comes to certain things, and it makes it easy. If I can explain to a 3 or 4-year-old, I'm good, and they can get it, I'm good.
But it's yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. If when you get into the habit of coaching, once you understand it's never about you. You're just there to pass something on, and hopefully be a positive part of a child's life and give them some kind of outlet, positive outlet, so that they can go home with some. We had a kid that used to come into us. I won't mention his name, and both his parents were HIV positive, and at that point in time, I think they were only developing drugs for HIV at the time, and then, but I think one of his parents wasn't so lucky. But he grew up in that environment, so the gym was his home. Well, he was a talented kid, but what crippled him was the lack of presence in the gym when he boxed. Yeah. From his parents, you know, like what killed that kid, what really hurt the kid. I mean. So I don't know where he is today, but I you know, it's just one of those typical stories that when you're involved in a boxing gym, not typical. It happens rarely, but you know, it's in the background there. You know, you don't know what that kid's going back to, so you try to make it as good as an experience as possible when they're there in front of you. So that's key to it. And I don't get that from you when you're speaking. What do you think of, you know? How do you support your fighters in terms of sources of confidence, Steve? How would you do that?
Well, you and I both know having a relationship with your fighter, I mean, that's the closest. I feel like fighter and coach, when it comes to boxing or MMA or anything, that's the closest that you can be, because this is a relationship. I mean, you have to earn trust from that fighter. You know, there's a lot of fighters. I've worked with fighters where you tell them to try something and be like, yeah, okay, I'm not going to try it. And they don't do it. And you be like, oh, my goodness. Come on, man, just try it. Just try it one good time. That might be a lack of confidence that they may not have in you. But most importantly, you have to build that confidence. You have to break down that wall. And that's what I'm doing first and foremost, is just breaking down that wall. Learn their quirks, learn the things that they like, the things that they don't like. I think that's the most important thing. Is learning how you can get that confidence from them. So things that I do to answer your question, with my boys, we just don't talk about boxing all day long. We do certain things. Like this morning after they train, I put on a Vander Holyfield versus Riddick Bowe, the first one. And they were like, Dad, oh my gosh. They sat down and watched the entire fight. I just happened to put it on while they were jumping rope. And they was absorbing everything. You know, I highlight a different fighter every day, Joe. Yesterday was Larry Holmes, in my personal opinion, who's one of the most underrated heavyweight champions we ever had. And in my personal opinion, who has the best jab ever out of all the heavyweights.
That's correct, yeah.
You agree?
Yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, it was unfortunate for Larry that he came around at a time at the end of Muhammad Ali's career, really. How do you live in the shadows of that? Like, how could you ever step outside of that box, or how could you ever? You can't do those shoes. They're too big. Well, Larry 100% was. I would agree with you. He fought everybody and anybody.
Yeah.
he was a consummate professional and an absolute brilliant champion. He was a
Yeah.
people's champion.
Yes.
Wasn't it Larry Holmes? He boxed. Was it who did Larry Holmes box? And he cried afterwards, and he said he was doing an interview, and they said to Larry, he said, "Why are you crying?" He said, "Because I respected that man so much. He was my childhood hero."
Why you've been crying?
You know, so I really respect a whole lot, really respect Ali a whole lot.
It hurt you to punish him that way, didn't it?
I feel that he fought one of the baddest heavyweights in the world today, and you cannot take credit from him.
Just jumping back onto sources of confidence, how do you do that with your boys and your kids that come to you?
I sit down and talk with them. First and foremost, I want to know, why are they here? Why do you want to box? You know, what's your reasoning behind boxing?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's bullying or whether they see it, they feel like they can become a champion. I don't sell any unnecessary expectations. I let them know it's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard. This is something that you have to live. It's not something that you can do one day. Like the great Andre Ward says, you know, in order to be a fighter, you can't just make weight and then blow up 30, 40 pounds. You know, you can't do that. You have to live the life every day, whether that's eat, sleep, and train. So I make them aware, you know, this is a lifestyle. What I do with my boys every morning, I talk to them. I talk to them before they go to sleep, and I talk to them in the morning, you know, whether it's just, you know, letting them know, like, you know what, you did great today. You're going to be great. You know, I speak that into existence because I really believe, you know, whatever you say and you put out there into the atmosphere, it's going to happen. I really believe that. So I let them know, you know, we're going to have our good days, we're going to have our bad days. But at the end of the day, we're going to make it positive in whatever we do.
Yeah, sure.
That's what I do.
Want to be a champion. Not everybody.
And at the end of the day, me being a coach, I'm letting them know I'm going to be there regardless, win, lose, or draw.
Doesn't matter.
Win, lose, or draw.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's the reason we turn up in the first place. There were certain things that stuck out in my mind when we were talking about the when you brought up the topic of the enemy within. How many times have you met athletes with self-limiting beliefs? I can't do it. I can't, you know, I'm not going to make it. I can't beat that kid. He's too big. He's this, he's that. Or they're focused on, it would be very cultural, I suppose, from an outside of the US looking in. It would seem, from just traveling, my perspective is sometimes when I visit the States, whether it's athletic boxing or professional boxing, everybody's so, well, of course, professional boxing, you're there to win. But I mean, athletic boxing, coaches are so focused on winning, they forget about the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
That the outcomes is probably, you know, 5% of the whole journey. The process is the meat and potatoes kind of thing, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So what is your question exactly? I'm sorry.
My question is, like, when you see it, are there certain things that stick out in your mind? Like I mentioned a couple of things last week. Coaches saying to kids, like, you must win. You have to win. It's the biggest day, you know. You got to step up today. When you hear that kind of language, how would you use the same kind of information with your own kids, or?
No, not at all. It starts within the gym before you even get out there, coach. Meaning, for example, my wife noticed this when we go to tournaments. She's like, why are these kids, you know, only like an ounce or 2 ounces or 3 ounces over? I'm like, because they're not doing what they need to do. They're not eating correctly, you know, or why are they wearing all these plastics and stuff, you know, when they come to these tournaments. Is because, you know, their lifestyle, their structure is not disciplined. So first and foremost, what I do, everything that we do in-house, we do it so that when we get to the big show, they're not worried about that.
Sure.
When it comes to eating, you know, their eating is great. How many times they eat a day, how many times they run, if if they need to run so many times. So we put everything in an aspect where when we train hard. So when it comes to the big show, we don't have to worry about it. So I guess we kill ourselves inside the gym. So when we get to the big dance, we don't have to bleed.
Confident. Yeah, quietly confident. I seem to gravitate towards people who I think as you get older, Steve, you have a less of a propensity to spend time around dead wood. You know, like people who just emotional vampires who drain the life out of you.
Yes.
Yeah. So I really like the fact that you got your own thing going on, and it's personal and it's private, it's family orientated. Mm-hmm. So what's the goal with the whole thing, Steve?
That's a good question. My wife asks me that all the time. You know what? To be the best father that I possibly can be. Because everybody, everybody asks me, like, I get around other coaches like, man, I never want to be one of them coaches where I see a kid and it's like gold mine. No. I want to, I'm doing this for my sons because I didn't have my father in my life. And that's something that I had to deal with. I had to really recognize, like, I have an issue because I didn't have my father in my life. But I'm going to put all my time and effort into my kids that I never got from my father. So that's what's important to me, first and foremost. And besides being a husband, a great husband, doing the family thing with my family is so important to me. So in the long run, it's having quality time with my sons, my daughter, and my wife. That's the most important thing to me, because I want to, when I die, Coach, I don't want to die lonely, man. I don't want to die. That's, you know what? I never could understand what my mom and my grandmother would say, like, you know what, the simple things in life means the most. And it is. Growing old, having grandkids, possibly one day, maybe one of my grandsons or granddaughters may want a box. That's what's cool to me. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Getting old and just sitting back and watching my legacy go on. So that's what I want to see. I want to see my legacy go on.
Have you evolved? Because you seem like a pretty chilled character to me. Well, you were a sergeant, right?
Staff sergeant.
Yeah, staff sergeant. Sergeants have a habit of shouting a lot. And getting things done, Yeah. So, like, does that transition over into your life?
You know what? It can. I can sound off what we say in the Marine Corps. I can do that if I need to, but I don't have to. I can look at my kids a certain way where I can look like, and they already know. They already know. So and that's what's so amazing, because I can go certain places, like, like my son would come back and I'm like, why didn't you throw your jab more? Why are we throwing single jabs? Why aren't you throwing 2s and 3s? And he'd be like, okay. I'm like, don't do it again. And he knows what to do. So, I mean, that, we have that bond with each other. I don't have to yell. Not at all.
Yeah, no. I don't
have to yell. My wife is really the enforcer.
Like most moms.
Right.
So here, I have to admit, like, the standard of boxing at the moment, in athletic boxing, the punch that's missing the most for me, that I don't see a lot of these days, is the jab. Like, boxers setting up their work off the jab. I don't see the jab. What happened to the jab? You see kids now, and they're so obsessed with throwing bombs, and even, like, there's a certain style of fighter. You mentioned something or similar to repetition is key in terms of boxing.
Right.
You have Baltic state countries who grow up off the back of the Russian technical system of boxing, which is all about repetition. And I lived in Azerbaijan, and I got to experience that, right, with the Russians, with Dagestanis, and they were all Russian champions. And I seen that technical system of boxing in play. And you mentioned that, like, some of the drills that you did when you were a kid, you'd never see this generation X or Z or wherever it is, them doing it today. When I was in Azerbaijan, I remember the Russian coach took a kid off the floor because he couldn't throw a hook properly, and they put him on a wall bag for 4 days. And all he had to do was take one step across and then a hook, one step across and then a hook. And that's what he did for 4 days straight for 10 rounds. That's the only thing that he did. Simplicity in repetition.
Yes.
Simplicity. And then when he got it, they took him back onto the floor. That's personalizing a program.
I remember my legs were so far apart. My coach was like, keep your legs together. So he tied my shoestrings together for 1 week. And and he's like, you fall, but you got to keep them shoulder distance apart. And that's how I learned. You know, I mean, you know, in the beginning, kids was like, oh, you got shoelaces tied together. But I had in the back of my mind, I was like, everything that they doing is to better me, to make me a better fighter, to make me a better boxer, to make me a better teacher. So with that being said, those type of things I've done with my sons in the beginning. And they know. I mean, my sons can look at somebody and I'll be like, what is he doing wrong with his jab? He's not turning over, daddy. Or his elbows is sticking straight up. He's chicken winging. His elbows aren't down. You know, he's not breathing. They know this. Maybe one day they may not be fighters. Maybe one day they might be a future cut man like yourself or a coach. Mm. But, you know, I feel like, you know what, to answer your question, what is it that I want to go with this? My sister is about to have my first nephew. Not my first nephew, but her first son. Mm. And he's going to be born in July. Yeah. It's going to be critical to me to get over there to see him when he's born. But something that I have to do that I did with my sons is I'm getting him his first pair of boxing gloves. And I have to show him how to throw his jab in his right hand. I have to. So for me, I want to be known as the gatekeeper to the family of Uncle Steve is showing everybody how to box.
Sure.
You know?
Bada bing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I also read in your resume that you train not only boxers, but MMA fighters from different martial arts. You teach them how to box.
I had the chance to work with probably one of the top Muay Thai groups here in the world, CSA, Combat Sports Academy, where they've had fighters like Kevin Ross, who's the most decorated Muay Thai American ever. He's fought everybody from Sanchai to you name it. What I had to learn was when I got within that environment, Muay Thai fighters, they don't get paid nearly what boxers get.
Fractional.
They doing it for the love. And I couldn't understand it. I'm like, you are, man, like you said, you get an elbow, you get knee and all this, but you're doing it for the love. And that's one thing I can understand. I came to understand in boxing. I see people that are doing it for love, but I see people doing it for not the love. They're doing it for the wrong reasons. And like you said, those people end up getting hurt. I hate the fact when you see guys, you know, it's like, why are they fighting? Why are they still fighting? They're tarnishing their reputation. You know, I never could understand that situation. Things happen. But when it comes to MMA and Muay Thai, I love working with those guys because those guys, they do listen. They listen, and then they will attempt and try something that you tell them. But the only thing is they don't have enough time doing it. They don't.
No. And there's so many disciplines attached to MMA. It's so hard to focus. We've only one thing to focus on, which thing. And I wanted to, I finish up, Steve, shortly, but I just wanted to ask you, I asked you about another fight as well, Maidana, changing the subject. Yes. Maidana versus Ortiz.
Oh my goodness. Great fight. Barn burner. And then Ortiz leaves us hanging like always. I mean, like he quits. I'm like, man, I mean, they were knocking each other down, but Maidana's just, that's a rough dude, man. That is a rough dude. And I felt like Ortiz, he didn't he do that against Andre Berto as well? Didn't he quit?
You might be right.
Yeah, he quit that fight. He quit in the Floyd Mayweather fight. Mm-hmm. I thought he quit in the Floyd Mayweather fight. He got hit with a punch, but he could have got back up. I just think Victor Ortiz, I think that when you have your mindset on a certain status, when you get up there and then after a while, it's like, you know what, I want to break through, but do I really want to go through this pain, this agony? Do I want to get my jaw broken even more than what it is? You know, my hand is hurting. People talk about Floyd Mayweather, but I will tell you this, Floyd was willing to die out there for that title. And you can't teach that.
No.
You really can't teach that.
No, for sure. Last thing, we're still on lockdown, Steve, until the 18th. I think Monday. We're out of lockdown after what, 6 weeks?
Yes, sir.
So we're getting out and about again. So it's strange, but everything will change socially. I mean, people talk about they have a greater sense of family and community now. But the paradox is that socially we're like two North Pole magnets. We just repel each other when we're meeting each other in the street because people are afraid to stand 6 feet or 2 meters away from each other. And that, you know, they're trying to keep distance and stuff. We're going to change forever in terms of social distancing and all this stuff.
We are. We are. I'm a big movie buff. I don't know if you watch movies a lot, but
I do love them.
Yeah, so the movie, The Book of Eli with Denzel Washington.
Yes, I remember.
Hey, Hollywood was talking. Hollywood was saying, like, you need to pay attention. Yeah, I used to see those things like Mad Max and Thunderdome back then with Mel Gibson and Tina Turner,
correct.
how they wearing masks. I remember in the early 90s seeing people from Asia, like Chinese people wearing masks. And I'm like, why are they wearing masks over here in the States? But things are going to change. And when it comes down to it, you got to adapt. You got to learn to adapt with any and everything. And that's why I would tell anybody, learn to adapt, stay conscious. We have to eat better. We have to drink better. Definitely exercise. And if you want to get trained by somebody, get trained by somebody like Coach Clifford or somebody that knows what they're doing. Don't get trained by somebody who is going to be fraudulent and get you hurt. No, do your research first.
So before we finish, if you were to say something to all the budding boxers coming up now, Steve.
Sure, no problem.
Give me a jam. Give me something. You
know what? To all the boxers that's coming up, I need you to take this seriously, and I need you to realize you come into one of, my personal opinion, one of the greatest sports ever. But it's something that you're not going to learn overnight. It's going to be humbling. Take it day by day, and just know, trust the process. When I say trust the process, there's going to be days when you go inside the gym and you're going to do great. And there's going to be other days where it's going to be bad. You can't figure out, your left hand from your right hand. But yet and still, have faith and trust and confidence in your coach, that person that you feel like, that has your back. Because at the end of the day, you have a communication that's going to be really, really tight between you two guys. Anything that goes on, you need to let him or her knows. Whether how, your goals, how far you want to go, where you want to go, what you want to do, you need to let them know. Because why? They're going to be your representation. I say representation because that's the problem with a lot of these fighters that want to turn pro. They don't have representation. Mm-hmm. That's the difference between somebody low and somebody high standard, is the representation. So what I would tell you guys, most importantly, get with somebody that's worth getting with, that knows the game. Like Coach Clifford, if you're in Ireland, or if you're over here in California, Coach Stokes, lift me up anytime, and then also, like I said before, what makes a champion? The foods you eat, the times you sleep, and the friends you keep, very important. The foods that you put inside your body. You cannot put unleaded gas inside of a Ferrari. You got to put the best inside of it, or it's not going to run, So watch what you eat. The friends you keep, watch the people that you put around you. My grandma used to say this all the time. If you hang around gangsters, more than likely, 9 times out of 10, you're going to end up what? A gangster. Or you're going to end up a hood. You're going to end up a drug dealer. You're going to end up a thief. So always remember that. And then last but not least, man, the friends you keep, the foods you eat, the friends you keep, and the times you sleep. When you go to bed at nighttime, go to bed at nighttime. Don't be bullshitting and being on TV or being on the phone. No, you need to have your proper and correct rest, because if you don't do that, you're not going to be able to function. Last night, I wanted to stay up late, but I couldn't because I know I was going to be on live with my man tonight. Because if I can do that, I want to bring you a good Coach Stokes, and I didn't want to be flat for you, Coach Joe. So that's what I would tell anybody. Just, hey, if you come into this game, be serious about it, have fun. But no, this is something that you're going to have for the rest of your life. And you will never forget anything, when it comes to this.
If you like this and want to catch up on some more of our stuff, you can go to our website, minutemedicineman.com. Just scroll down to the services page and you can see anything from free webinars to newsletters, blogs. Similarly, if you want to catch some videos or be the first to see those videos, please subscribe to our Minute Medicine Man YouTube page. Equally, we have a Facebook page, Cutman, Minute Medicine Man, and Instagram, same thing, Minute Medicine Man. Thank you very much for watching.